Hey, man, the NBA is the gift that keeps on giving. I love my job. I love doing this. I'm having so much fun. So all day today, I sat around mind blown still that the Luka Doncic trade actually happened. But then at some point today, I snapped into it like, oh, the rest of the NBA has to get back active. We only have 4 days until the NBA trade deadline. And then boom, my timeline starts to unravel. I'm getting tweets and notifications. Boom, 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 boom. De'Aaron Fox has officially been traded to the San Antonio Spurs along with Jordan McLaughlin. And we have the full trade details right in front of us. Jordan McLaughlin and De'Aaron Fox to the Spurs. The Kings are going to receive Zach LaVine, CD Sakoko, 3 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and then the Bulls come in and get Kevin Huerter, Trey Jones, Zach Collins, and then their own 2025 first-round pick that the Spurs had. So, couple things first. Incredible get for the Spurs. I don't think it's any surprise here. The minute that De'Aaron Fox and the Sacramento Kings came out and let us know that he was going to be made available, it was like, okay, we understood he was going to be moved. And then once we found out he had a preferred destination, we kind of figured that the Spurs are going to take advantage of that because a lot of teams are going to kind of, pump the brakes a little bit and not give up too much to get a guy that might just be a rental. And sure enough, the Spurs took advantage. The only thing that was a surprising element and kind of like we weren't sure was what exactly the Spurs were going to give up, because there was the rumors that they didn't want to give up Stephon Castle, and that became a situation was that going to hold this trade up? Would that allow another secret team to come out of nowhere and make something happen? Would that mean that the Spurs are going to give up Devin Vassell? Are they now going to give up 5 picks? And to be honest with you, I never in a million years would have drew up a trade that looked anything like this. The Spurs were able to get De'Aaron Fox and only gave up 3 first-round picks to the Kings. They did give up the one to the Bulls, so that's technically 4. But there is no Jeremy Sohan. There is no Devin Vassell. There is no Stephon Castle. This is an incredible trade for the San Antonio Spurs, and I kind of feel bad a little bit for the Sacramento Kings and their fan base just a little bit, because I feel like there maybe is a world where you potentially get more than this if this information comes out a lot sooner. Because this information came out with De'Aaron Fox and the Kings, basically going separate ways and whatnot, I feel like the Kings didn't have enough time to kind of make him available and really seek offers from around the NBA, because again, the trade deadline is Thursday and they kind of were put in a position where they didn't have as much leverage. The guy doesn't want to be there. He's not going to sign an extension. The rest of the NBA knows that now. The rest of the NBA also knows that he wants to go to the Spurs. So you had your leverage just continuing to drop. Every report is just making the leverage and all of the upside that you have just drop and drop and drop and drop. I, again, like the Luka trade, I am always on the side of getting young talent and the picks. A combination of both is always what I am going to seek when I put on my GM hat. And they weren't able to get the young talent. They did get some first-round picks. It's going to be extremely interesting to see the rest of the year play out for the Kings because, hey, they have been playing better basketball. You know what I mean? Call it what you want. We can talk about the ceiling and the lack thereof for the Kings and their upside in the playoffs and all of that. But the fact of the matter is, as of recent, under Doug Christie, they've played a lot better basketball and they're winning a lot more games. So you do get an NBA-ready player like Zach LaVine who's been playing all-star level basketball. Now, I'm going to be honest and I'm going to be real because I displayed a little bit of my reaction on social media. As just a fan of Zach LaVine and him being one of my favorite players, I did not want to see him go to the Kings. Zach LaVine is too talented of a player, in my opinion, to continue to play on these level of teams that are like just trying to get to the playoffs. I want to see Zach for once in his career with as much talent and as much of an exciting player as he is. I want to see him play for more than just a playoff appearance. And I feel like in his entire career, his 11-year career, we've only seen him on teams that are just trying to make the playoffs, right? Obviously, the Bulls had a lot more upside and a lot more hope prior to the Lonzo Ball injury. But that's what his Bulls career was just like, can we make the playoffs? Can we just make it? And I think that's what the Kings are going to be doing this year. And for the foreseeable future, I really don't know what they're going to be trying to do, but the way the Western Conference looks, it's hard for the Kings to compete without anybody of significance. It was hard for them to compete with De'Aaron Fox, and now you just had to trade him. So I just wish there was like a different, scenario that Zack was entering. Just as a fan of Zach LaVine, I remember when the Nuggets a couple months ago revealed that they had interest in Zach LaVine, and I was ecstatic because the Nuggets are a type of team, they're not competing to make the playoffs. They're a team that's not looked at as a first round exit. They're a team that can potentially go on another playoff run like they did last year and the year before and the year before. So I wanted to see him in more of a situation like that. From the Bulls' perspective, this is an incredible, underrated, like sneak in trade for them. Obviously the players that they got back, nothing significant, but for them to be able to get their own pick back while giving up Zack, I think is astronomical. Zack, remember, not that long ago, or even in the offseason when they were talking about different landing spots for him, was a guy that people thought you might have to attach draft capital to get off, to unload his contract. So now that Zack is gone, I think that opens up the floodgates for a lot of other conversations for the Bulls, right? We're talking about Nikola Vucevic. We're talking about Kobe White. I've seen Lonzo in rumors. Patrick Williams. There's just a bunch of different directions I think the Bulls can now enter and allow that value of having their own pick go up. And hopefully they can do something special in the offseason as far as retooling and rebuilding this team for some type of direction that makes their fan base a little bit more exciting. And again, the Spurs, to not have to give up Jeremy Sohan and Stephon Castle or Devin Vassell, I never in a million years thought that there was going to be a trade where you did that and you only gave 3 picks to the Kings. My theory was you are either giving up Castle, Vassell, or Sohan, one of the 3, and you're giving 3 picks. If you're not giving up one of those 3 players, then you're probably giving up like 5 picks, right? Because you have the Hawks picks, you have your own pick. The Spurs had a boatload of picks, so I thought that they would be held for ransom in the draft capital asset type of thing. But again, when you really think about the circumstance and everything involved in this trade, the Kings just, unfortunately, with the timing, with the information that's been given, there was just not a lot of leverage. And the fact that they were able to get the 3 first-round picks and the 2 second-round picks with Zach LaVine, hey, I guess they made the most of what they were able to get in the situation that they were thrown into. Again, they are a very interesting franchise and team to pay attention to, not just for the rest of the year, but when we get to the offseason. Because, number one, how is this team going to perform with Malik Monk, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and Sabonis? Is that the 5? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's Keon who's the point guard? I don't know. But that's the first thing. Like, how is this team going to look for the rest of the year? But then what direction does management and ownership want to go when they head into the offseason? You know what I mean? Does this open up the floodgates to now Sabonis being made available? DeMar DeRozan already talked about the type of, situation he's in this point of his career. He wants to play for something. Does he now ask to be moved? Like, I'm very curious what's the end goal. It just feels like a team that just doesn't have a direction yet. I can tell you right now, on paper, this team isn't that damn good. Right, they're still in the same situation they were kind of just in, maybe in a little worse of a situation because you don't have De'Aaron Fox. I think De'Aaron Fox is better than every player on your team, but the team isn't awful. You still have Sabonis, who's giving you 21, 14, and 6, and I don't know how he's not an all-star. Zach LaVine is shooting almost 50, 40, 90. We know how good DeMar DeRozan is. At some point, Keegan Murray is going to snap back into being who Keegan Murray is. Malik Monk, Keon Ellis. There's some things here. Because the West is so stacked, it's hard to place them. It's hard to place them there right now. So, I'm just I don't know. I'm just kind of surprised that the Spurs were able to get this done without giving up so much. But at the same time, again, I keep thinking about the scenario that the Kings were forced into, unfortunately, and it's actually not that surprising. The Spurs, though, man, the Spurs are going to be dangerous. They were dangerous before they got this trade done, because on any given night they look like a legitimate playoff team. They do still have some nights where you kind of like, oh, that's a young Spurs team, right? Where they lose a game that you were like, how the hell? I did not expect y'all to lose this game. They'll go and they'll play a Thunder type team very tough and maybe even win the game, and then they'll go and lose to like a Hornets team, and you just kind of walking away scratching your head like, what the hell? They look like two different teams. I think De'Aaron Fox allows them to not look like two different teams on a night-in-night basis. I think he gives them a little bit more consistency. I think him and Vic in a pick and roll is going to be as dangerous as anybody on the Spurs roster. And I think he gives them a legitimate perimeter threat to close games. I think Chris Paul at his age did a really good job in early parts of the season. He had some really clutch shots, even some three-point shots. But I think now that goes up to another level, having De'Aaron Fox, and you legitimately have a two-headed monster. All of those crazy performances that Vic was able to have, De'Aaron Fox can match those type of nights from a scoring perspective. He's never going to be a guy that's giving you a 5-by-5, but you now have two guys that together can go off for 35 plus and take over a game legitimately. You now have that, and to be able to keep Stephon Castle, who I think is a really special do-it-all player, a connector is the word that they use. I think he's a supreme level of that guy already as a rookie, and I think he's going to be able to continue to propel into that level. And Stephon Castle was a winner. He won in high school, won in college. He's going to win with the Spurs. And then you still have Vassell, who's going to be able to play off of this two-man game. Jeremy Sohan gives you, personality and fire that you need. Every good team needs that fiery, not backing down from anybody type of guy. You still got the vets in Harrison and Chris Paul. The Spurs, man. If you are a Spurs fan, this is not a home run. This is an out the park grand slam hit. This is the no doubt home run. Once you hear the sound off the bat, you don't even have to look for the ball. You know it's out of the park. This is that for them. This is a place where he wants to be, so you're going to be able to extend him in the offseason. You now have De'Aaron Fox, a all-star point guard with a unicorn and alien of Victor Wembanyama, and you're putting them together, and you have a surrounding core of Jeremy Sohan, Devin Vassell, and Stephon Castle. Wow. And even though you lose 4 first-round picks, I'm almost sure, and I'm going to look before we close out the video, I'm almost sure they still got more to play with in the future. After this season is done and they go into the offseason, they can look back and say, what else do we think we need? What else are we looking for to take this up a different level? Right? Like, that's also the scary part of keeping Stephon Castle, right? You would love for Devin Vassell, Sohan, and Castle to be the surrounding pieces for sure, but there's also a world where they go and play the season out and some things don't look the way that they want, and you still have these trade pieces. You still have these guys that you can move and say, we want to make another move. We want to make another pivot. So now we can take Stephon Castle or Devin Vassell, and we can attach these other 2 first-round picks that we didn't use, and we can go get this guy or that guy, and it just leads you to all type of endless opportunities. And I just think that makes them a scary team out west. The West continues to get stacked. Spurs future draft picks. Let's see what the Spurs are looking like. So the Spurs, we don't have details on the Spurs draft picks that they just traded, but what we can do is just look and say we know it was 3, so we could just count the 3 and subtract that way. But as of right now, the San Antonio Spurs are looking at, so they had 1, 2, 3. They had three this year. They have 4 for 2026. They have a 2027. That's 5. 2028 is 6. 2030 is now 7. And then you had 2031 is 8. Another one in 2031 is 9. So they had 9 first-round picks, so you subtract 4, and they'll still have 5 left to play with and figure out if there's another pivot or move that they want to make. And it don't even have to be something significant like De'Aaron Fox. It can just be, we want a sharpshooter. We feel like we want one more shooter, or we want some more size, or whatever the case may be. they still have that option now. I am PBD Plug. This is the PBD Plug channel. Make sure you are locked in 24/7 from now to Thursday. Head over to Tee It Up, the newest show that I have on Enjoy. Make sure you subscribe there because we are also going to be talking a lot at the deadline on our next episode next Thursday, the day of the deadline. So make sure you locked in because we're going to have everything you need for every single trade. Let's get it.